Hello everyone. It's been about, give or take, 3 years, I would say, since I think last FDRU election. If none of you have heard, my voice, yes, this is the person that LARPed as FDR and ran the OG mock election. Um, for about more than half a year. That was, yeah, again, 3 years ago. Um, and so, and let's just say a lot has happened since then. A lot. It's been full 2 years, full two election cycle since then. Just a lot happened within those 3 years in the world. And for me personally, I now have a job and studying at a four-year university. I don't LARP as a politician anymore. Um, Nevertheless, I have been thinking over the past few weeks, making a video addressing my side of the story, the FDR election universe. In the background, I will just have some gameplay in a sort of commentary format. My little commentary will not be, it's not going to be linear format. It will be more disorganized. So, regardless, let's get into it. So I don't remember every event or detail which took place um within the election universe. Also, a certain someone nuking the server um doesn't help that, so I have to rely basically on full on memory and obviously some of the comments in election videos. um but first, like a fair amount of other experiences, the FDRU that lasted like far longer than I expected and I intended it to, and quite frankly, quite longer than it should have. What was supposed to be more of like a meme and like a one-off, you know, kind of experiment per se, turned into like a pretty large community. Obviously back then I had a significantly larger interest in politics than I do now. Personally, I enjoyed, I would say the first few elections. I would say maybe the first three or five. Also, the ones where I won, but we don't talk about that. Uh, Before I, started to get, more intense, but not in like a good way. Let's just say that. And that was, of course, due to more, intense people getting more intense in the community, getting more passionate in their views. But I think I did act a little bit immature. I was a bit lower than I frankly should have been. And it did kind of turn out quite negative for me. Um, you know, passing legislation, and elections were fun. Obviously, the voter fraud I thought was really dumb. Like why would you commit fraud in like a fake election or whatever? So obviously, since it did make everyone paranoid. Um, but ironically enough, the what actually transpired would not come out until several months, like maybe half a year, after the end of the elections. So a certain individual, cough cough, cool DG Carlos, I would argue was probably the most destructive force in the server and resulted in its downfall. I would say I'm still fascinated how he managed to have this time on his hands to single-handedly create dozens. Yeah, I'm not joking. Dozens of alt accounts to rig elections right under everyone's noses. Like I, along with several other people, had deleted several votes. Like we knew fraud existed, but the scale, was I don't think anyone expected, and I was I was personally stunned when he eventually revealed the scope of everything. That really shocked me. I mean, obviously, this was again several months after the end of the FDRU, and I had left the Discord actually after that, but then rejoined just a little bit to see what was. I actually don't even know if that server still exists. But obviously, it is kind of pointless now since like literally there's nothing left. Because it was all nuked. Um, and it turned out he was actually the same person who did all the fraud was the same person who literally did the nukes. Um, and that was pretty much one of the most stunning revelations. And obviously, because of that, I can't show any history because it no longer exists. That's why I'm having some gameplay in the background. Um, so, funnily enough, I did not care about the nukes themselves that much. Obviously, I was not pleased, but I think personally, the fraud is what frustrated me the most in like looking back on it. Is because I felt like I had put like a lot of time and effort that I probably shouldn't have. And pretty much everything was just unraveled. The legitimacy of everything was unraveled and really destroyed in the end. So I think like maybe after like the fifth election, I probably should have pulled the plug. But from my opinion, I think that's where everything went downhill because I think that's where the all the fraud really started coming in. But regardless, as I said before, I did leave. I left Discord for a while, really, and then I eventually came back. And until I'd say like early last year, I was not active at all. On Discord, frankly. But now I do other stuff there. Um, but anyways, that other video, the World War III was an example of that. Some of the stuff I do. But overall, how would I summarize my time running the FDRU? I would say pretty much like the rest of everything in my life. Some good, some bad. But with this little monologue finally out, I I like to hear everyone else's experience and thoughts about those events that transpired about 3 years ago. So that's really all for me. Um, and this is FDR signing out.